Quick disclaimer. I own none of this content. It's all owned by DC Comics or Warner Brothers. This is for education and commentary purposes. This is for a school project I am doing. This has absolutely, I do not, like I said, I don't own any of this. And this is purely for educational and commentary purposes for my school project. Okay. 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, we made our first official video that covered the first episode of the CW Flash series. Sadly, it's been taken down for a copyright strike. Damn you, Warner Brothers. I'm gonna be honest, that hurt, especially since this is for a school project, and I'm supposed to have 2 videos. Oh well, I guess it's something I can put in my report. We take those on the chin. So now we're moving on, and we're gonna try it again with Warner Brothers, or maybe just DC in general. I don't know if Warner Brothers publishes DC Comics. Anyway, we're doing DC Rebirths, The Flash, Volume 1, Lightning Strikes Twice. Let's get it! Okay, so now we pick up. Barry's at a crime scene. A wife is murdered. Barry's having these weird visions about Wally West being stuck in the Speed Force trying to escape, and he's also seeing visions of the Reverse Flash coming back, otherwise referred to as Zoom. He's also getting a vision of a new character we don't quite know yet, saying he's going to kill them all which referring to his friends and whatnot, family, loved ones. You know the gist. We then cut to him having a conversation with his father about what he's seeing. His father proposes that either the Speed Force is making him see these things, or that he's just under a lot of stress, and that it's basically culminating because of his brain working on overtime, figuratively and literally. We then go through the daily life of Barry, doing his CSI stuff while also helping the world out and trying to have a social life. That's apparent. And then Wally West appears to him trying to leave the Speed Force. Because of Flashpoint, Kid Flash Wally West got stuck in the Speed Force and kind of got retconned ish out of existence. But now he's back, and Barry remembers his name, which summons him back into the world. Thankfully, they embrace, which is so nice. They have a reunion. We get a rundown of who Wally is, obviously. Um, and then Wally explains to Barry that it wasn't his fault, it was someone else's fault for Flashpoint. Um, and that they have to find this person. Now, Barry is confident, saying that whoever this person is doesn't stand a chance now that they're both on the case. Because they made a great team. It was everything. Barry insists that they tell Iris, but Wally disagrees. Um, yeah. After deciding to not tell Iris that Wally is back, the new Wally, because there's a Wallace West and then there's a Wally West. Wally West, the original Kid Flash, is the original Kid Flash, and like I said, he got retconned, and his own wife didn't remember him, so he didn't want to have to go through that with Iris. So they decided not to tell her. And so they're trying to find this person. Wally decides to go back to the Teen Titans to gather information. Barry goes to Batman. They both come to the general consensus that they're being watched. They just don't know by who. We then get a flashback of several years ago, Barry in his lab before he was struck by lightning, helping his friend August Hart with his brother's murder case. All of a sudden, Barry gets struck by lightning. And then we cut to the present day where he's talking about how he's the fastest man alive, how this speed lets him do such incredible things. Okay, now we pick up with Barry arriving late to a CSI crime case. There's something suspicious about the crime case because because they wanted to make it seem like it was a simple smash, grab everything that they thought was valuable, then leave. But it was very obviously not, because they left dangerous chemicals that would cause mass destruction when leaked out into oxygen, completely sealed. So obviously they knew what they were doing, and they wanted to make it seem like it was something else. Barry then arrives late to a lunch meet with Iris and Wallace. They talk about what's happening with Barry and whether Wallace needs help with the science project. He's already done with it. And then a robbery on a transport, on a Star Labs transport, ends up happening. But a fire on 4th Street, an apartment fire, also happens. So Barry has to decide which one to do first. He decides to run to 4th Street to help the apartment fire first. He realizes he can't do anything fancy, so what he does do instead is he evacuates all the citizens from the apartment building um, as fast as possible, but he's too late because once he finishes, the people robbing the Star Labs transport, otherwise known as Black Hole, they're holding August Hart at gunpoint, which is Barry's best friend. They're holding August Hart at gunpoint, and while Barry's running there, the bullet's already been shot, and he's witnessing August about to die. And then suddenly, August gets struck by lightning, and he now has super speed. And both him and Barry are shocked, like completely riveted. Also, August has lightning eyes now. Okay, I've got an entire script to read for now, so let's get rolling with this. Okay. Barry starts out by testing August's abilities with the Speed Force, running tests and having him run, obviously. August doesn't think he's ready for the powers of the Speed Force, but he also discovers that Barry Allen is the Flash when, going with the odds of being struck by lightning. Duh. We then cut to Wallace, who also has Speed Force powers apparently. He's just running around because he feels like he might be losing his powers. The connection to the Speed Force, he feels like it's wavering. Iris is investigating the Star Labs break-ins and gets information from a guard. Barry and August have a discussion about justice and how they have to use their powers to properly uphold the law and not use it for selfish reasons. Ergo, August wants to use his powers to find and kill his brother's killer, or who he thinks it is. Iris calls Barry and ends up getting kidnapped by Black Hole, but manages to tell Barry and August her location. Barry and August run to help Iris, but Barry tells August that he's not ready, basically just telling him to watch. Iris manages to jump out of the Black Hole van, surprising, that was kidnapping her, and Barry manages to save her and drop her off at an undisclosed building. Barry then starts going for the Black Hole van, and while chasing them, Black Hole manages to hit Barry with it's a weird negative speed force gun. It kind of like dampens his powers. In the nick of time, August arrives with a new costume and blows Black Hole away by creating a vortex with his hands. Barry feels rejuvenated by August and gets healed. Barry destroys the anti-speed force gun, and both him and August defeat the last Black Hole agent. And then all of a sudden another speed force storm starts. A speed and this causes people all across Central City to be struck by Speed Force lightning, turning random citizens into flashes and giving them super speed. We then cut to Barry and August taking down some super fast bank robberies. We also learn that Barry has slowed down slightly now that he is sharing so much of the Speed Force. While August and Barry discuss who is responsible for the Speed Force storm, their leading theory being Black Hole, they learn that Star Labs is now holding a speed lab to train all the new speedsters to apply. We then get introduced to a new character named Dr. Mina Dewan, probably terribly mispronouncing that, but we roll. She is the lead researcher in the lab and also has super speed herself. Her main goal is to make sure all the new speedsters are happy and healthy, even working to try and get everyone who wants it back to their normal lives. She leads Barry and August to a room where it's revealed that the Speed Force storm was pulled to Central City by a lightning rod. This lightning rod in question was Barry himself, meaning that he is technically the reason all these people are speedsters. Mina lets him know that it is his responsibility to help some of these speedsters because they are too scared to even leave their homes. So while August goes off to take down criminal speedsters, Barry and Mina work on helping the people who are scared. We then jump to Central City, where Iris is trying to get more information about Black Hole from Captain Singh. Meanwhile, Wallace super speeds in the room without anyone noticing, and steals the Black Hole file that Iris requested but was denied. From this file, we find out that Black Hole has been doing experiments on the Speed Force. We now cut to Barry and Mina visiting a family to help their daughter Avery handle her newfound Jesus, super speed abilities. Barry calms Avery down and manages to teach her how to ground herself by listing things she loves. After this, Barry and Mina head to Iron Heights so they can teach the three bank robbers from earlier how to properly use their speed and put them on the path of good. Suddenly, a blaring alarm goes off, and we see the cell has been partially destroyed and the robbers are dead, with August laying on the floor. We find out that everyone but August had their speed forcibly stolen and ripped out of them, severing their connection to the Speed Force. August says that he saw who did it, a new speedster calling himself Godspeed. We cut to Barry training the new speedsters to make their powers, but also investigating them because in his eyes, one of them could very well be Godspeed. He doesn't know for sure. Mina asks to see Barry in her office, and she explains to him that unlike Barry, the Speed Force isn't combined to them perfectly. So basically, because of the Speed Force storm, it hasn't perfectly combined to their cells. Um, so now, if two or more speedsters were to run together, and one of them wanted to forcibly take speed, whoever is the fastest one out of them will steal the other one's speed, causing causing the Speed Force to bind together with each other. All of a sudden, oh yeah, this is what allowed Godspeed to steal the Speed Force from the criminals earlier. All of a sudden, the gang, August, Barry, and Mina, try figuring out a way to track down Godspeed. Iris then walks in with a lead about Dr. Carver, a man who was fired from Star Labs for running experiments on the Speed Force. Barry, Allen, and Mina run over to a black hole laboratory outside of Central City, where Dr. Carver and Black Hole are experimenting on the Speed Force. Barry and Mina arrive at the warehouse and take out the guards. Barry listens to Carver monologue even though he could incapacitate him so easily. Bro sat there for 10 seconds listening to him monologue. It makes no sense. Anyway, this lets Carver activate his quote speed machine, which lets him directly take speed from the Speed Force as opposed to just the storm. This turns Dr. Carver into a miniature version of the Speed Force storm. He kind of turns into a weird like speed tornado, but not. He has like his limbs have turned into tornadoes, kind of. Because there's too much speed. Go figure. Barry tries to talk him down and tell him to focus on things he loves. Doesn't work, obviously. Then walks in August with two of the rookies. Barry tells the rookies to evacuate any and all citizens to safety while he, Mina, and August work together to steal Dr. Carver's speed by outrunning him. They succeed and save the day as Carver is completely traumatized by speed. He's legitimately put in a coma because of speed. It's kind of crazy. We cut to Wallace trying to channel the Speed Force and finally contacting Star Labs for training. We then cut to August, Mina, and Barry at the Speedster Training Center at Star Labs. August is going to investigate Black Hole while Barry and Mina stay back. Mina finally kisses Barry, and Barry reveals to her his secret identity. Took them long enough. They've been flirting for like 30 pages. Barry and Mina decide to take a day off together, where Barry talks about how happy he is to have the extra help around because now he can stop and enjoy things. Iris and Barry meet up for breakfast, where Barry, for the first time in forever, I want to say like legitimately, this is the first time he's ever done it, where Barry arrives first and Iris is the one late. Mina and August have a slight argument over teaching the new speedsters how to catch bullets at super speed. Mina doesn't think that they should teach the speedsters, and August says it would be a waste not to. Their argument is cut short by Mina sensing Wallace West outside, debating whether he should ask for help or not with the Speed Force. As Wallace decides to leave, Mina sees him and questions him and decides to teach him a few tricks after Wallace's hesitance. So Mina teaches him the basics of staying grounded, phasing, and learning fear around the Speed Force, because obviously fear enables you to limit yourself and not get lost. After telling Wallace about how he defines who he is and not the speed he has, Wallace then shows Mina that he can make lightning if he focuses hard enough. A cable lift holding window cleaners on a tall building snaps, and Wally and Mina, by the way, Wally is Wallace. I don't know why I've been saying Wallace. Anyway, it snaps. Wally and Mina have to run up the building and save them. Sadly, they've never done this before, and because of the extra weight, they start falling. But Mina gets the brilliant idea to make vortexes by spinning their arms really fast to slow their descent. They manage to safely land and leave before anyone sees Wally's face. Mina then asks one more time if Wally wants to join them or not, and even though Wally considers it, he ultimately declines the offer, but Mina cuts a deal and says that she will train him every day personally, even if he decides not to join them. We then cut to Iris and Barry at the end of their date before getting interrupted by Detective Singh lecturing Barry about working, and then Barry and August go to work on the case together. We then cut to Mina arriving at Star Labs and seeing destruction and death at the Speedster testing lab, as there are bodies laying on the floor from having their speed taken. Mina stares in disbelief as all of a sudden she hears the shouts of Avery being held in Godspeed's hands. Mina rushes up to Godspeed and tries to throw a punch, but it goes right through him because he's phasing. Mina then makes a split-second decision and pushes Avery away, because Godspeed's stupid, I guess. He just encircles Mina and the other two rookies and leaves Avery alone, I guess, and starts to try and steal their speed. Before enacting a plan, Mina tells Avery to go and find the Flash, and then Mina and the rookies try to run together as a group to prevent Godspeed from stealing their speed. It doesn't work. Um, Avery is able to find Barry and August, telling them what happens, but Barry and August arrive too late to save Mina and the rookies, and they're dead. Their bodies aren't even there. They basically got erased. We then cut to Godspeed killing a random civilian, ranting about justice and prosecution. We then cut to Barry and August in Star Labs. Barry's beating himself up for being lazy and not stopping Godspeed. He's also slightly in denial, ranting about how Mina might not be dead. Obviously, she's very dead. Avery then comes over and says that the other speedsters want to talk to Flash. Before this can happen, Barry sees the news and wonders how they know that the villain's name is Godspeed. Also, Godspeed killed 4 more speedsters. The remaining rookies then reveal that they told the news his name, and that if Godspeed is only targeting speedsters, they don't want to be speedsters anymore, so they ask Barry to take their speed away. Barry declines, saying that he doesn't even know how to do it safely, and that he will solve this case. Barry arrives at Iris's place looking for evidence. Iris embraces Barry and reassures him that they will find her, Mina's, murderer. All of a sudden, Wally walks in, shocked and distraught by hearing that Mina is now dead. He goes off on Barry for, quote, hitting on his aunt instead of investigating. And then Wally runs off, tears in his eyes, at super speed. After, Iris tells Barry that he just has to let Wally handle this on his own. Barry asks her if there is anything off about any of the deaths. Iris informs him that one of Godspeed's victims was actually not connected to the Speed Force at all. Barry finds out that this person's name was Billy Parks, the same Billy Parks that August Hart is convinced killed his brother. Now Barry runs off to find August. Barry confronts August about Billy Parks and asks him if he was the one who murdered Parks. August confesses and admits that in fact he did, and that Billy deserved to die. Barry says that killing Billy wasn't justice, that there wasn't enough evidence to conclude that Parks actually killed August's brother. August disagrees and says that his gut is right. Shortly after this, August confesses to stealing the speedster's speed, but that killing all of them in the process was an accident, that he didn't mean to kill any of them. August then taunts Barry for caring about Mina so much, that they weren't some great and amazing lovers of the ages, but rather just a random couple that happened to get caught in the crossfire. August then goes on to explain that death and misery are the only reason Barry even gets up in the morning. That's the exact reason why Zoom killed his mother, because he knew that Barry would stop at nothing to stop him, always haunted by the memory. Barry then loses his patience and attacks August. August then explains how he decided on his name, saying, quote, I am judge, jury, and executioner, so I call myself Godspeed. Godspeed now challenges Flash to catch him, taunting him while he does so, talking about how he's so much faster than Barry, he can literally be in 2 places at once. After August beats on Barry and starts feeling the effects of splitting the Speed Force in half, meaning, yes, Barry is slower than a half-speed Godspeed, Barry runs and collapses in Star Labs. Barry tries to offer help, but Barry says he just wants to be alone. We then cut to Central City Courthouse being taken over by 4 black hole agents. Only difference is that instead of the Flash, Godspeed takes care of them. He phases 2 of them into a wall, decapitates one of them, brutal, and then tries torturing information out of another one by literally shaking him at super speed. And once the leader doesn't talk, Godspeed kills him. Because of course he did. He's Godspeed. We then cut to Wally confronting Flash about doing nothing and finally showing him that he has the Speed Force, and he has had it before the storm. They then run to have a talk about Wally being taught his powers and keeping them, and that he wants to be a hero and doesn't need the Flash's permission to keep and use the powers. Barry and Wally then run over to Star Labs to convince the rookie speedsters to give up their speed. He explains that the only reason that the other speedsters died when having their speed taken was because Godspeed forcefully took their speed, and that as long as they wanted to give up their speed, nothing would happen. So Barry convinces him, and both him and Wally get the rookie's speed. Avery doesn't want to give it up, but Barry and her have a heart-to-heart, and in the end, she's willing to give her speed up, stating, quote, now kick Godspeed's ass. And of course, Inconveniently, this would be when Godspeed shows up. He attacks Avery and yaps about how if you're willing to give up the speed, then you were never worthy for it in the first place. That was basically a direct quote. He's very adamant about this. Godspeed and Barry then run to Iron Heights, where Godspeed says that he's going to do Barry a favor by killing literally all of the inmates inside Iron Heights, including Eobard Thawne, or Professor Zoom to people who don't know his full name. Barry, with his knowledge of the science part of the Speed Force, manages to somehow short circuit both his and Godspeed's connection to the Speed Force. Godspeed isn't done yet, however, so he's going to do the thing where he cuts his Speed Force connection in half and to be in two places at once. One of them will fight Barry, the other one will kill the inmates. All of a sudden, Wally comes speeding into the scene, attacking Godspeed. This leads Godspeed into believing that now they're just equals, but of course, Barry reminds him that he has his Speed Force connection when he appears in two places at once. This allows Barry and Wally to steal a majority of the Speed Force from August. Sadly, this isn't enough to put August down. He's still going on about killing the prisoners, so Barry snaps his neck. Just kidding, he cuts off his oxygen flow, KOing him. You didn't think Barry would actually kill someone. you're you're funny. We then jump a few days later at Iron Heights, where Barry is visiting August. They have a talk about what August has done. August says he never meant to kill any of the speedsters, that he really was just trying to help Barry out. They also get on the subject of Billy Parks, and that apparently he was actually innocent. They then end the conversation with August saying that even though he knows who the leader of Black Hole is, he won't tell Barry until Barry needs a favor from a friend. We then end off with Wally revealing to Iris that he has Speed Force powers and getting through his worries about having super speed. We then go back to Star Labs where Barry is training Wally himself. Barry is training Wally himself and talking about how similar the new Wally is compared to the original Wally. And to end it off, he hears Mina say thank you to him. Okay, now on to the commentary slash review section of the comic. Personally, I'm gonna give this comic a solid 8 out of 10. I really like the dynamics. I think that August revealing to be Godspeed was really cool, especially the way he introduced himself as Godspeed, talking about how he's judge, jury, and executioner. So he is Godspeed because God would be judge, jury, and executioner. You know, God of Speed. Pretty cool. I really like that. But also it's a twist that you don't necessarily see coming because we have evidence of him being with Barry when Godspeed attacks. So like we can't so like it's a really good twist because we don't know that it's him. We can't be sure. We we think that it was Dr. Carver, and then it got disproven when Godspeed attacked the Speedster lab. That was honestly just so cool. They did it so well, and the writing on that was immaculate. Um, I do want to say I think Barry and Mina were a little rushed. I mean obviously one comic book issue, they weren't planning to go far with it, but still I think it was a little bit rushed. They could have done more with it. Um, Barry, Barry and Mina just got together so quick, and then she just died like 20 pages later. Oh boy. Um, let's see here. Speed Force Storm and whatnot. I like that. Gave us a new like side cast of characters, some of which we might feel for. We didn't really feel too much for them. I think that was another fault is that if this had been able to expand over like multiple issues and we had gotten to know each of them on an interpersonal level, I think that I would have felt something more when the other speedsters did get completely massacred. Instead, I was just like, oh, so random side characters got murked. Damn. And then the only one we did get like actual character development for and interpersonal knowledge of was Avery, and she willingly gave up her speed and didn't die. So wasn't really anything to feel about there. Um Outside of that, I would definitely say that the Wally versus Barry fight was not Wally versus Barry, Jesus. Wally and Barry versus Godspeed was a fun fight. I do think it was interesting because obviously they had just absorbed the speed. They just got that speed, which makes sense.
And it's weird because Wally is realistically not faster than Barry. And as we know, half Godspeed is faster than Barry, or at least he was before Barry absorbed speed. So we can give that to him. Um, problem problem is that I don't understand why half split Godspeed would try absorbing Barry and Wally. Because obviously, now that Barry has absorbed speed, Godspeed no longer knows if his half speed version of him is actually faster than Barry. So there's no, especially two combined forces in when he's just split, it really doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. It just felt weird that instead of like combining back into one where he's still faster than them, he just decided to continue splitting himself and try stealing their speed. I don't know. That didn't really make much sense to me. Sense to me, but otherwise, I definitely enjoyed the mini fight they had. Um, I did enjoy the little bit of a darker turn it took with Barry, like when he acted like he snapped Godspeed's neck, but it was just, oh no, he just doesn't have oxygen. He'll be fine. I thought that was cool because it made it seem like he went over the edge even after all his lecturing. Um, excuse me. Let's see here. After that, the Barry and August talk at the end is very interesting. August and Barry still see each other as friends, and August legitimately just wanted to help Barry, but they have different viewpoints. August and Barry have different viewpoints of justice and how to carry out said justice. It's I like this. It's a battle of ideals that we've been shown from the start, and I thought their little clash of ideals was great. Obviously, Barry won in the end, but Godspeed still holds his ideals, and I think that's really inventive because the clash of ideals is very hit or miss depending on what ideals are clashing, how long they're clashing, and obviously the chemistry between the two clashing. And I really like this idea of actual justice, prosecution, and order, as opposed to just taking what you want and doing what you want because of a gut feeling. Barry needs all the evidence possible before he can give a definitive answer. Meanwhile, August just needs his gut and a gut feeling. He doesn't he if he thinks it's true, that to him is true. He doesn't necessarily need evidence for it. Um, and then, I also liked Wally's character development. And I'm talking about like Wallace, the new one. I really liked how he goes from a kid who's like barely connected with the Speed Force, then he gets struck by lightning from the Speed Force storm. Get gets in a partnership with Mina. That was great. I loved him developing his skills, learning a little bit. That was fantastic. Loved it. Chef's kiss. Let's see here. Outside, I thought the black hole plot was pretty nice. I want to see more of like anti-speed force weapons because I thought the weird anti-speed force gun that Barry got hit with in the beginning was very interesting because it kind of like nerfed his powers and healing for a little bit until August showed up and healed him. Um, so I thought that was very interesting just because of the fact that even though they're experimenting on the Speed Force, they don't know the full extent of it, and they were able to craft something that is a direct counter to Barry's Speed Force. I thought the Dr. Carver plot was interesting, not perfect, obviously, but I thought it was interesting enough. John Carver researching on the Speed Force and doing experiments on it, leading up to be Godspeed with his speed machine that will literally give him speed from the Speed Force itself. I'm not sure how I felt about him turning into a weird Speed Force Storm person. I think that one was a bit of a miss for me, just because I like even if he was going to be consumed from it, I was expecting him to turn more into like mindless speed monster as opposed to weird tornado person. Um, and I think that if they had done the speed thing, I think that could have been cooler. But that's just my opinion. The comic book might not have been able to actually do Godspeed if they did that. So, that's fine. Um, I thought the idea of stealing speed was interesting, the way they did it this time around, because normally they do it with kinetic energy. So just like anything that has kinetic energy, you can steal speed from. This time it's a bit different though. The only way you can steal speed is by being faster than someone and forcibly removing the speed force from their cells because it hasn't fully bonded yet, which makes me question if it would work on Barry because, you know, he wasn't hit by the speed force storm, so the Speed Force is actually bonded to his cells. So I'm very just curious if you could steal Barry's speed in that way, or if in this case it would mainly only apply to the people who were struck by the Speed Force storm. Let's see here. What else? Iris and Barry's an interesting dynamic. They're friends, and I love that. I'm surprised Barry still kept that he's the Flash a secret for so long from her. Barry's CSI. She's a reporter. Um, she often uses Barry to try and get scoops for the Central City News, obviously. And obviously Barry being Barry doesn't want to disclose that information. He wants what's best for Iris. She wants what's best for him. It's great. Um, love love their dynamic. I love Wally's and Barry's dynamic. Matt like mentor student. Love it. It is a bit redundant though because they're redoing the dynamic that original Wally and Barry had, but it's fine because it's still a good dynamic even if it is slightly redundant. Outside of that, I thought the Speedster training lab was an interesting idea. The having specific places where they can like train phasing and then training getting faster, training stamina, at least based on what we could see in the lab. Obviously, they didn't actually give us any names of this. That was interesting. Let's see. Are there any things I didn't like legitimately hated? Um, I think that I think the only thing I disliked, like a decent bit, was August killing Billy Parks. Um, obviously, like we knew it would happen, but I just feel like for someone who was trying to be on Barry's good side and trying to hide that he was Godspeed, I feel like it would have been smarter if instead of killing Billy Parks, or if he did, like actually hide the body, get rid of it, instead he actually, like didn't kill Billy Parks, maybe kidnapped him. That way he wouldn't be able to admit to anything. Because I think him like just getting rid of like this whole staying on Barry's good side is I don't know. It's finicky because he just kind of like gets rid of it when he kills Billy Parks and just leaves the body, which I thought was kind of stupid for someone who is shown to be like so good at playing a double what's the word for that? Double agent, that's the word. Okay. Outside of that, I don't really have any problems. I thought any time where it was Barry versus August was amazing. It's not just clashes of ideals, but clash of new versus old. You have Barry, who was the original. He he channels the Speed Force more than anyone. Well, up until later in comics when it's Wally, but not at the moment. Um, so yeah, Barry has the most experience, but he's also the most afraid because even though he knows the science behind it, he's terrified after what he did in Flashpoint. He's terrified of causing another disaster and ruining the multiverse again. And it's really tragic, but also it shows Barry's character. He's always careful, he's always afraid. He doesn't push the limits of the Speed Force after everything he's done, which shows just love it. Great character development. I love it. It's great. Let's see. I thought the Godspeed costume design was really good, really good. Godspeed's costume was just immaculate. I loved it. Let's see here. I don't think I have much else to say. I think I've covered like basically everything I wanted to talk about. Oh, the beginning with the visions. I thought that was super cool because at the very beginning with the visions, you had Barry getting traumatized by wife being killed, husband suspected murderer. It's bringing him back to his past with Reverse Flash and whatnot, which is very interesting. And then obviously he can't tell if these visions are something the Speed Force is showing him, or if it's just something he's seen because he's traumatized. So it's very interesting how we don't get that answer right away. We get the visions of Godspeed early on, so we already know that there's an incoming threat, but we don't know when it will arrive. That's great. I love I love the foreshadowing of Wally West returning, the original, obviously. Um, Oh yeah, I do wish there was more of the original Wally West in it, but I can see why there isn't because they're trying to build up the new Wally West, and obviously they couldn't have just brought in that Wally West, especially since he was. I like that they gave him a reason to leave though, working with the Titans and whatnot. That makes more sense. It's great. It's great. Um, Outside of that, I don't think I have too much else to say. Solid 8 out of 10. I suggest reading it. For anyone who didn't get it in the beginning or just hasn't been paying attention to the thing, pulling up anytime there's not a direct scan from the comic book. It's called Volume 1, Lightning Strikes Twice. It's DC Rebirth's The Flash. Go read it. I really recommend it. Um, I had a lot of fun reading it, and I hope this review was nice. I hope you really gained like general understanding of what this thing is about and what all happens, the characters. I hope that happens. So yeah, have a good day, night, whatever it is for you. Um, See ya.